Hi, it's Maggie. Today we are going to talk about real estate investment in Seattle area. As we all know, Seattle is not only the headquarters for Microsoft and Amazon, it also hosts a lot of major offices for companies like Google, Meta, Apple, and etc. So over the past decades, Seattle has attracted so many highly educated and high-income, high-tech staff. According to Seattle Times, Seattle now has over 290,000 high-tech workers, making it one of the top 10 cities for high-tech employees. I think it only comes behind San Francisco, which hosts 350,000 high-tech workers right now. And that's why Seattle's housing prices have also risen significantly. According to Redfin data, 10 years ago, the price per square footage for Seattle area was only $190, and now it's $451, almost 1.4 times more. And if you're looking at Bellevue, it is actually 1.7 times more. So it will cost you around $770,000 to buy a single family in the city of Seattle, while it will cost you over $1.4 million to buy a single family in Bellevue area. With those sky-high housing prices, a lot of people would wonder whether Seattle is still a place worth investing in. If so, what kind of area we should look at and what kind of properties we should actually invest. And in today's video, I'm going to share some insights about what kind of area and what kind of property types are still worth investing in 2024. Before we jump on it, don't forget to like, save, and share our video to your friends who might also be interested. Let's get started. Okay, let's kick things off by listing a few features of Seattle's real estate market right now. Number one, we're talking about high housing prices, high rent, but relatively low cash flow return. Like we just mentioned, it will cost you over $800,000 to buy a single family in Seattle, and even more, like $1.4 million to buy a home in Bellevue. So those prices are really high compared with places like Texas and Florida, where you can easily snag a new construction with only $500,000. And rent is also very high. In Seattle, it will cost you over $1,500 to get a one-bedroom apartment and over $3,000 to get a three-bedroom home. On the east side, it's actually worse. It will cost you over $2,000 to get a one-bedroom apartment and over $3,500 to get a three-bedroom home. Although the rent is high, with the high price, the return on cash is only around 3 to 5% right now if you buy a single family or condo. If you want any kind of positive cash flow with getting a mortgage, you probably need to put down over 50%. Secondly, Seattle has been experiencing some chronic shortage of home inventory right now. According to NWMS data, the MIS month's supply of inventory data is only 1.9. If there are no new homes coming to the market, the current housing inventory will only last for 1.9 months. I think one of the biggest complaints for buyers in Seattle area is there's no home and there's bidding war everywhere. And that is related, right? So bidding war normally will lead to buyer actually paying more than what the home is actually worth for, and that will lead to some housing bubbles, like inflated prices in a lot of area. And that's why when I actually truly believe there are places in Seattle that worth investing in, you actually cannot just easily just buy a home, sitting on it for another 5 years, and they will make money that way. It's just not that easy anymore. If you want to make money, it's actually through very careful calculation and consideration before you're making the purchase. So we always talk about location in real estate world, but really what a good location means when it comes to buying a real estate investment, I think a good location has to have these key features. Firstly, I always go for places that has positive population growth and greater job opportunities. Generally speaking, areas with positive influx of population and hopefully a rising family income level, it is a place with better living conditions and environment and a bigger potential. So we put up data for 15 cities in greater Seattle area to look at their population data. And we found that the number one area that has the highest population growth is actually northern Seattle, like Shoreline, Linwood, Montlake Terrace. downtown Seattle comes to the next. I think that has a lot of things to do with back to office trend. And then far to the east, Bothell is also on the rise. Interestingly, some core area like Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, we've seen like a slower population growth. And then farther cities like Sammamish, Kent, and Renton that are really far from the center, we have seen actually a population outflow. Another thing I will look at is the rent growth. Because when people first move into a new area, normally they will choose to rent for a few years or a few months, and then they settle down and they will think about buying a home. So the increase of rent actually comes first, happens before the increase of the housing market. And we've seen data for the past year in Seattle area. Most area actually has a rent decrease. Only 2 cities has maintained some positive growth. Those are Kirkland and Linwood. And secondly, I will look at the changing of the landscaping of the city. If a city is undergoing a lot of new projects, improving its transportation, infrastructure, and living conditions, is always a good sign. It means that the city has more potential and hopefully more highly educated and high-income families will be willing to move in. And another good thing is that when those changes just got started, the housing price is not that high yet. So it will be a good window for investors to start buying in those areas and sit for appreciation. We've seen a lot of cities have undergone big changes like Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, and then in Seattle, like Salt Lake Union and West Seattle, and then in the north part of Seattle with the light rail almost completed, we've seen a lot of new constructions and new developments around those light rail routes. And the third point is to choose an area that has a development-friendly policy. This is something a lot of buyers will overlook because in the US, almost all the new developments, a new highway, a new light rail station, a new light rail route, or any kind of development will need the support from the community. So some governments will incline to do more development on increasing the housing, increasing the population density, and then building new constructions and new developments. But some cities will be more conservative. They want to keep the population density as is. They want to keep the environment. They don't want you to cut trees. They don't want you to build too many new stuff. It doesn't matter whether you want to actually develop this investment that you are buying or you want to sell it to some builder someday. To buy in a development-friendly area is very crucial. All right, based on those standards, I have listed 3 areas that I think will have a lot of potential to invest in 2024. Number 1 is North Seattle. Like we said, North Seattle has the highest population growth speed for the past year, and it also almost completed the construction for the light rail, and there are so many new developments and new constructions happening there. So I'd recommend to buy a single family, hopefully a little bit older, so the lot size is pretty good, like 8,000 square feet, and it is pretty close to the light rail station, like within 10 minutes drive. But definitely not to stay too close to it because there will be some safety issue around the light rail station. So you don't want to be too close, but you want to be close enough. Number 2 is Bothell. Over the 10 years, Bothell has become a number 1 choice for a lot of newcomers to Seattle area, like myself, because it is affordable price and newer developments in the area. According to Seattle Times, Bothell actually has over 40% population growth over the past decades. The city actually invested over $47 million to get a new city hall and reconstruct 522 highway. I think Bothell definitely has the potential to transfer from a suburban sleeper city to a city like Redmond and Kirkland someday. So consider buying a single family in Bothell. You can buy a newer home if you want to live in it as well. I think a 2,000 square feet home built in around 2000 or 1990s will cost you around $1 million right now in Bothell. So I would recommend a long-term hold onto those properties. And if you just want to invest, you can also consider some older homes that has bigger land. And in the future, you will have the opportunity to see if you can reconstruct and build newer townhomes on it. And number 3 is Kirkland. Like I mentioned in the previous market reports, Kirkland has been one of the fastest growing cities on the east side. Although the housing price has been pretty high already, I still believe that Kirkland has great potential because number one, it is in a great location. It has Google and Meta offices and only 10 to 15 minutes away to Bellevue City Center. And then number two, the north side of Kirkland, like Fee Hill and Kingsgate, I think the price is very affordable compared with other area in Bellevue and Redmond. And number three, in 2020, Kirkland has passed 1110 policy, meaning that it is much easier for individuals and builders to subdivide your lot and build cottages like DADUs on it, which I think is one of the most profitable investment in today's market. So in terms of property types, it depends on your budget. So if your budget is between $300,000 to $500,000, I would recommend to get an existing condo in some really good area like Bellevue or Kirkland downtown area. You can rent it long-term for $2,000 to $2,500 per month after it deducts the HOA, which is like $500 per month. And after the property tax, I think you still can get a net $1,500 rent per month, which I think is pretty good. If your budget is higher, you can definitely go for a single family that was built around 1980s that has a bigger land. And then the plan is to hold on to it, renting it for long term, and then also in the future, looking for some flipping or reconstruction opportunities. For reconstruction, you can easily subdivide it to 2 to 4 townhomes and then sell those townhomes for $1 to $1.5 million each. In that way, you can easily profit by $200,000 to $400,000, like almost 20% of your investment. I am personally very interested in this project, and that's something that I will be focusing on in 2024 as well. So that wraps up our recommendations for real estate investment in Seattle in 2024. Looking ahead to 2024, we plan to make more video content for real estate investment. Not only we're going to talk about some basics of investing in real estate market, we will actually go to the field to show you different types of investment properties in Seattle, such as multifamily and short sale properties. We will also invest some local investors for interviews. So if you're interested in investing in Seattle real estate market, stay tuned and subscribe my channel. We hope you will enjoy more content for insights of real estate investments in Seattle. I'm Maggie. I'll see you next time.